Kind of the most important one for me.
Go ahead and test the mic while you're.
Test. 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 Test.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We have adjourned from closed session, and welcome to the Monday, June 10th, 2019 meeting of the Durham County Board of Commissioners. I will now share the public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. And as a courtesy to others, please turn off cell phones during the meeting. And I will now ask that we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have one agenda adjustment this evening. We are going to move up, one of our business items. What is the number? 24? Oh, 284. We're going to move up with and put that at the beginning of our ceremonial items. And are there any other agenda adjustments? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to announcements. Durham County Summer Reading Program, beginning June 15th through August 3rd. All events for the summer reading program are free and open to the public. This season celebrates a universe of stories with a variety of astronomy and science fiction programs to interest all age groups. For more information, please visit www.durhamcountylibrary.org/summer reading. And we really encourage everybody to spread the word about the summer reading program. We know that summer reading is important to counteract the impacts of reading loss during the summer for our DPS teachers who are here. The Board of Elections kickoff for photo ID to vote information sessions. The Durham County Board of Elections is hosting the second of 6 photo ID seminars at South Regional Library on June 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. These sessions are open to the public. Light refreshments will be served. Board of Elections staff will be accepting applications for voter registration, voter photo identification, and absentee ballots. And for a full schedule of information about the sessions, please visit www.dconc.gov/home/components/news/6143/31. But more information can be found on our website with all of this. And are there any additional announcements that commissioners would like to add? I do want to add one thing, which is if people have not signed up to get our weekly newsletter that the county manager puts out, which is called Durham This Week Online, I encourage you to sign up for it. You can go to our website to sign up. Sometimes we have sign-up sheets. Do we have a sign-up sheet tonight for that outside? So there's a sign-up sheet outside, but there are many, many more announcements in this newsletter about great things happening in Durham County that we really want people to know about. And I'll just tell you very quickly, by looking at it myself, it lists information about the new planning department outreach program. They're looking for people to sign up who want to be on the outreach committee. There's classes at Cooperative Extension on things like herb gardening, seminar at the library about travel. There is an MBK Twitter chat on Let's Talk Manhood and Self-Care, kids voting, candidate session, Father's Day walk that's being held, barbershop chats regarding Black male achievement, car seat safety classes, classes on honey extraction, gardening, composting, vermicomposting, 4-H programs, and those are just some of the things that are not in our announcements. They are in our newsletter, and we really want people to know about the great things that are available to people in our community. So we are going to jump to our ceremony. Oh, we have minutes. We have our minutes from May 6th, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
Before we approve the minutes, there's one item I noticed in there, Monica, that we said that Commissioner Mrekai and I were going to ask for an excused absence. Did we ever do that for September 9th?
No, I actually made a mental note. I was going to do it at.
Okay, so why don't we do that right after we finish this? Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Howerton. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are unanimously approved. And I'd entertain a motion to excuse us at the September 9th meeting.
I would move that we excuse the chair and myself from the regular meeting September 9th, both going to get.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Carter. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is unanimously approved. So we have a important ceremonial item here tonight. We have a number of people here from the Friends of the Library Foundation, and I would ask that you all could please come up to we would like to acknowledge you all for the main library. I guess we have Lou, are you here? And anybody else who's with us for the Library Foundation? 0284. 0284. So, yes, and we have Tammy here. So, Lou, thank you for being here in your role as chair of the Library Foundation Board, and we're so grateful to you, and we will let you explain why you are here tonight.
Thank you. First, let me just speak to my attire. I'm not being disrespectful by not having a black tie, but as you said, the kickoff for the summer reading, and that's what this is. So I'm advertising and marketing.
Yes, thank you.
Secondly, I am the chair, and we have a number of other directors here. I'd like to just call them and have them stand up so you'll know their faces. The first is Ann Craver. Ann is the president-elect, and she is one of the founders and one of the initial incorporators, so we are glad to have her back on the board. Alice Alexander.
Okay.
I'm not going to, because I'll be here all night, but everybody on this board busted and does great work. Norma Martin. Norma's going to be the VP. Leslie Dillon. And then the other person I want to introduce is our executive director, Karen Wells. In 18, we thought about what we were going to do, and we realized Tammy needed her full-time person. We needed staff, so we are independent, and we said we were going to hire staff, and that would allow us to devote 100% of our time to raising money, resources for the library. We're 21 years old. Our only client is the library, and our purpose is to provide funds to make the library great. We had known about, we're here this evening to give you some money. I was thinking about it earlier. I'm old. I've been to a number of meetings. I don't ever remember somebody standing up and said they were going to give somebody a nice chunk of money, but that's what we're here to do tonight. We realized with the building that it was going to be about $2 million short for the furniture and fixtures. We're fortunate. We have the foundation has an endowment approaching $5 million, but we had some other monies available. We decided at our annual meeting last year that we would give $800,000 to the library, and that's what we're going to do this evening. And then we are going to make a great effort to raise the $2 million. We have a silent campaign underway. We have close to $500,000 in commitments. We hope that there may be a few dollars left over in the contingency that could kick in. And we're in the silent phase, but we talked about this fall maybe going into a public phase to raise those monies. But that's what we're here to do tonight. We're pleased to do that, but I just want you to know that we are able to do that because of the generosity of the citizens of Durham and their love for libraries. This is not a difficult ask, but Durham has a great library system. I've always felt it's the most democratic building in any city or county, and our citizens support it, so we want to thank them for their support. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Lou, and we'll give Tammy, our library director, a chance to comment as well.
Yes, good evening. I wanted to take an opportunity to publicly thank the Library Foundation for their support of the library. It's because of their funding and their support that we provide the margin of excellence for our community. This is obvious in our humanities programs, our Library Youth Partners programs, our summer reading programs, our Comics Fest program, and a number of others. I could continue on and on tonight. But this is a group of folks that work extremely hard, volunteering, giving their time, money, and energy to a great cause that they feel very passionate about. So thank you to them, and also a thank you to the commissioners for your continuous support and the community as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Lou, and all of the members of the Library Foundation. We are so grateful. Commissioner Reckow?
Well, I want to chime in. I really want to thank the Library Foundation because when I saw this agenda item, I took a double take. I thought, someone must have put in an extra zero. I thought it must be 80,000. I could not believe that you were able to commit $800,000 to help with furnishings at the library. So you're awesome, and if you can raise more, terrific, but you've already done a great job. So I want to thank you for your help with this. It really means a lot.
Commissioner Howerton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say thank you as well. Thank you to the library board. Thank you to all the work that you do. And on a personal note, Lou, my condolences, my heart for you to be here tonight. My heart is there with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And, this is for the main library. I'm sure everybody has noticed that we're renovating the main library. So this is for our living room. The main library is going to be the Durham's community's living room where everybody gathers. So you are Library Foundation, and Lou, you all are furnishing our living room, our communal living room for the entire community. It's going to be a fantastic, beautiful space for everyone in the community to enjoy. So thank you so much again. Okay, our next ceremonial item now, do we have Tiffany Bell? Is Tiffany here with us tonight? Oh, Tiffany, come on up. And whoever else you have with you as well. I will read this resolution. Thank you all so much for being here and bringing this to us, and then we would love to have your comments. This Durham Board of County Commissioners proclamation for the 10th anniversary of World Sickle Cell Awareness Day, Shine the Light on Sickle Cell 2019. Whereas sickle cell disease is an inherited blood disorder that causes pain, infection, disability, economic strain, and even death, primarily among African American children and adults, and whereas no definite cure for this disease exists, although treatment is available to help those with sickle cell lead more productive and rewarding lives. And whereas treatment of these conditions often requires both emergency department care and hospitalization, and whereas provisions of services was a collective effort between major medical centers, regional educators and counselors, community-based programs, local health departments, and the State Laboratory of Public Health, and whereas many healthcare professionals, regional educators, and community advocates do not receive adequate and current education about sickle cell disease, and whereas support for research on the treatment and management of this disorder, as well as overall awareness, are vital to improving the health and quality of life for persons with sickle cell disease. And whereas since 1973, the North Carolina Sickle Cell Syndrome Program has provided quality services throughout the state for patients, and whereas sickle cell experts and advocates from Duke University and Pi chapter of the Chi Eta Phi sorority are committed to improving the quality of care received by persons with sickle cell disease. And whereas since 2009, June 19th was officially designated as World Sickle Cell Awareness Day, the International Awareness Day is observed annually with the goal to increase public knowledge and an understanding of sickle cell disease and the challenges experienced by patients and their families and caregivers. And whereas Durham County will shine the light on sickle cell by shining our lights outside the Admin 2 building and lighting up the tourist sculpture in red on June 19th, 2019, to raise community awareness and commemorate the 10th anniversary of World Sickle Cell Awareness Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, and on behalf of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, June 19th, 2019, as World Sickle Cell Awareness Day in Durham County, North Carolina. This, the 10th day of June, 2019. Wendy Jacobs, Chair, Durham County Board of Commissioners. So thank you, Tiffany, and thank you, everyone, for being here. We'd love to hear your comments about this important proclamation.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce our director of the clinic, Dr. J.J. Smith, Dr. J.J. Strauss, who will have a couple of words about thank you.
I want to thank you all for this recognition. So sickle cell disease is often a silent disease. Many of the people that we take care of do not talk about their disease in the community, and it hasn't had the attention that I think it deserves. So we greatly appreciate this proclamation to allow people to learn about sickle cell disease, and we'll be out at Duke University Hospital with an information table on that Wednesday, a week from this Wednesday, for anyone who wants to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to mention, Gail, are we, as Durham County Public Health, anything that we can be doing on that day? We're not. Okay, well, you are welcome to come over to our Health and Human Services building as well and set up a table there. And I also want to thank our staff, Perry. Where's Perry Mance? Where's Perry? Back there. I want to thank Perry because we got moving on this very quickly, and I asked Perry, can we light up our building across the street and light up? We have a statue across the street, the tourists that you can light inside. Can we do that? Tiffany reached out, and staff made it happen in no time. So thank you so much to our staff for partnering on this, and thank you, and thank you all. And if you don't mind coming this way, we'd love to recognize you all. If you could come up here and receive the proclamation. Thank you. Please come. Thank you.
Like doing the bump.
So we have a number of consent agenda items. You can see that our staff is trying to get a lot of things approved before the end of the fiscal year. We have items 19-0185 through 19-0305. Are there any items that board members would like to pull or comment on?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Howerton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Items are unanimously approved. I just want to very briefly highlight a few of the items that I think are very important. Item 0280, which is conveying 5 county properties to the city for a purchase price of $10 each to be used for affordable housing. This is a policy that our board initiated to be able to get properties, surplus properties that we have directly to the city so that they can use them either themselves or to a housing nonprofit to be used for affordable housing. And then the city is also looking at 3 other properties to evaluate further. And one of these parcels that we're donating is 3.5 acres. So has some good potential. The other one I want to highlight is 0288. We are receiving $400,000 in grant awards for several companies that are creating jobs in Durham, from the Biotech Center, Locus Bioscience, Pairwise, and Avexis. And I really want to applaud Andy Miracle, our Economic Development Director, and our staff, because what these companies are doing is making very specific agreements to do things like work, be on the board of, maybe Andy, could you come up and say, because it's so important, what they are agreeing to do as a part of this.
Andy Miracle, Durham County Economic Development. So in 3 of these awards you mentioned, we're receiving funding from NC Biotech. They are funding the awards, and we've worked out community benefits with each of the 3 agreements. For Avexis, they're going to serve on the Biotech Advisory Committee for Durham Tech, as well as with equipment that they're purchasing with grant funds. They're going to donate that back to Durham Tech for training and educational purposes. Pairwise is going to be working with DPS to facilitate relationships related to food nutrition, as well as hosting 4 DPS interns, and then Locus Biosciences will be hosting 3 interns as well.
Okay, and wasn't there something with the Bright Center too? I thought I.
That's coming up.
Oh, that's coming up. Okay. Anyway, I just want to highlight them because our board is trying to get companies to focus on very specific commitments that are working with our DPS, the Bright Center at NCCU, Durham Tech to try to create a education to work pipeline. And the third thing I want to highlight, I don't know if Tammy is still here. Is Tammy still here, library? But a fantastic grant from the NIH to do programming in the libraries around health, for health programs and in our mobile unit, and also increasing our library collection related to health. So integrating what we're trying to do with public health and bringing it directly to people in our libraries. So lots of great things happening in Durham County. Thank you, Andy. Okay, so we have a public hearing to consider allocating economic development funds to Parexel International Corporation. And so that's why you're still standing here, Andy.
That's correct. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, we will hold a public hearing to consider allocating $120,500 in economic development funds to Parexel International, a leading biopharmaceutical services company and global contract research organization. With approval of the award, Parexel is expected to invest approximately $1.7 million, add 264 new jobs, and will open a second U.S. headquarters in Durham County. The company will locate several headquarter functions at the new facility, including a range of operational and professional support roles, such as finance, marketing and sales, IT, and HR positions. The employees will join Parexel's more than 600 existing employees in North Carolina that started state operations in 1993. It is important to note that while 264 new jobs will be added, their decision to locate in Durham secures the retention of those existing employees already in place. Parexel will continue to play an important role in the county's life sciences industry by providing a comprehensive suite of biopharmaceutical research and services to help its customers transform scientific discoveries into new treatments for patients. The company meets the county's economic development policy requirements related to health insurance coverage and wages that meet or exceed the county's average wage per category of employment. Further, Parexel has agreed to make best efforts to participate in workforce partnerships that include paid summer internships and jobs, collaborating with North Carolina Central's Bright Center, and engaging Duke's Office of Durham and Regional Affairs to participate in workforce and community activities. Parexel's expansion in Durham County will be facilitated in part by a job development investment grant from the state that was approved on May 30th. With Durham County's designation as a Tier 3 county, local participation is necessary for the JDIG award to materialize. Staff is recommending that the county provide $120,500 in economic development investment funds, subject to certain performance goals being met by the company related to timing and amount of investment, employment creation and maintenance of the created jobs, as well as partnership engagement criteria.
Thank you, Andy. Commissioner Howerton.
Andy, thank you, Madam Chair. Would you mention the incentives and at what point, just for anyone in the audience that's listening, as to when that would be paid out?
Yes, so as part of the contract creation, we create a schedule of payment, and that tends to be over a 5-year period, and all of our agreements are performance-based. So certain investment criteria and jobs have to be created and maintained before payment is rendered. We also include clawback provisions in place to make sure that those jobs are maintained for a certain amount of time.
Thank you.
So I first of all want to apologize to Mr. Broderick. I will bring you up after this item to make sure that you can comment. I overlooked that you wanted to speak on an item that we just was on our consent agenda. Any other questions for Andy at this time before I open the public hearing?
One quick one.
Yes.
So Andy, our agenda action form mentions the $4.194 million. Is that the JDIG amount from the state?
That is correct. That's the state award.
So we're spending 120 approximately.
That's correct.
Sort of leveraging state resources at the level of $4 million.
Yes.
Thank
So I have a question about the contract, Andy. Can we, within the contract, can we actually get some numbers? I know you mentioned that there would be paid internships, but is there a minimum that is being committed, or has there been discussion of actual numbers?
I think as we go through the process, we'll work to hammer out those specifics.
Okay. I think it would be important that we actually have specific numbers, at least a minimum. And in terms of the collaboration with the Bright Center, I think just thinking through how we're going to enable that. I see we have Michael Page here representing North Carolina Central University, but making sure that we get the actual connection made with the Bright Center, just making sure that really happens. And as well with the Duke office of Duke Durham Regional Affairs. So just some of those details fleshed out, I think, in the contract would be helpful.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see the contract.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So I'm now going to open the public hearing. We have one person signed up to speak on this item, Jeff Durham. Or no, it looks like it's Brian Fox instead of Jeff Durham. Okay. You want to, we'll get that from you. Okay.
Thank you. Brian Fox, 300 West Morgan Street. Good evening, commissioners, manager, attorney, staff, and neighbors. Bring condolences from Jeff Durham for not being here this evening, but as Vice President of Public Policy at the Greater Durham Chamber of Commerce, Parexel has been an important part of global life-saving innovation, as well as our region's biotech ecosystem, and we're pleased to be helping facilitate their growth and second U.S. headquarters designation here. We're joined by a representative from the company. I'm pleased to report they actually met with the Bright Center today, and we're proud to have partnered with the state to bring another addition to the county's tax base and spectrum of career opportunities for our residents. As we work together to strengthen Durham's economic development policy, and Mr. Miracle mentioned the return of a small portion of the net new revenue being brought in here helps enable us to bolster the talent pipeline as we facilitate connections to NC Works and other workforce development and community partners. Thank you for your support of this partnership for many years to come.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Commissioner Recco.
Well, I really want to comment, Andy Miracle, our economic development manager, because he has pushed the envelope and we are instituting new asks with the companies that seek incentive funds from us, where we're trying to create a stronger pipeline into the jobs that we're attracting to Durham. So the commitment to summer internships, jobs is very important, and pleased that this company has stepped up. You're the first company to commit, so that's great. You're setting a new example, and we really appreciate that. I want to thank Andy because he was tasked with coming up with some ideas around this, and we just saw proposed list last week, and already he was out beginning to make it happen. So I think that's great, and I hope that we will see more companies step up and follow the excellent example that we're hearing about tonight.
And I would just add that thank you for being here, Representative from ParXL. ParXL is the second biggest CRO, clinical research organization in the world. They have 20,000 employees, and they have a presence in many different countries, but they are choosing to open their second global headquarters here in Durham County. And they said that they chose the CEO. We were all at a press conference with the CEO who was here. John McDonald, is that correct? Jamie McDonald said that they chose Durham County because of the talent that we have here, because of Durham Tech, North Carolina Central University, and Duke University, because of the talented students that we have here. And so this is a great opportunity for people in our community, and so we want to ensure that those connections are made for our residents and for our students, and that's why the summer internships are so important, and the partnering with the Bright Center. And we're leveraging, as Commissioner Carter said, over $4 million worth of state money with about $120,000 of local money. So great opportunity for us. Okay, I will now close the public hearing, and
I move approval.
Second.
moved by Commissioner Recco, seconded by Commissioner Howerton. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the award is unanimously approved. All right, we now have one item. I'm sorry, Mr. C.J. Broderick to speak on item 19-0261. And if you don't mind, just stating your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Sure. C.J. Broderick, 3715 Suffolk Street. I just thought that I took a look at the item, I took a look at the bid process and some of the results. And since I think it went out, 5 companies were at the pre-bid conference and only 1 company submitted a bid. I've talked to a couple of different companies that thought that the price that the county was preparing to enter the contract in was probably 2 or 3 times higher than it should have been. And so with only 1 company bidding, I thought it'd be important to at least ask the commissioners to consider pulling it and maybe asking to go to rebid the project. So those are my comments.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Broderick. Do we have anyone here from General Services who can comment on the bid process related to that item? Yeah, they've already left.
Oh, no.
Oh, Mo's here. Okay, we have our General Services Manager here. So do you mind, I don't know if you heard that, Mo.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
We have it in the back.
Okay.
So with regards to the ceiling of the floors for the animal shelter, we've had this bid out twice now. This is the second time the bid has been submitted. The first company actually went into default, and they actually closed down. We then sent out the bid again, and that's what you have approved. We did offer the opportunity for multiple companies to come and review the facility to determine if they could actually provide the necessary product to seal the floors for the cages of the animals. And we only received 1 response, as the gentleman indicated, but we feel that it is appropriate with regards to the type of duration that they're offering. The seal that they offer for the floor has a 10 to 15-year life, and we feel that is the proper application for our animals at the shelter.
Okay, thank you, Mo. And
Could I
yes,
just-
Commissioner Recco.
I will say that the people who commented may not have physically been in the shelter. The shelter situation is very poor. And I would imagine a lot of work is going to be needed to remedy the severe situation. I was actually appalled that it had gotten that bad. So I think that this is money very well spent. And we did ask about useful life, and we were assured that it would be between 10
And 15.
and 15 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're getting, if that lasts, good resolution of an untenable situation.
We're also, with regards to the shelter itself, we've also got a painter in who's actually is working on all the ceiling work, and our staff is also working on the HVAC work in the CAT area.
Thank you. Commissioner Howerton?
I don't think he's questioning the work. I think he's questioning the process of how the contract was secured. Am I understanding you right?
Partly, I am asking for further, I've seen, I guess, bids extended a couple of different times for different reasons. As the president of the Black Chamber of Commerce, I know there are several firms that I've been in touch with that have stated to me, I myself didn't see the bid prior to, and maybe they missed it for whatever reason. So in an effort to help the county save money, and primarily, but then secondarily, get some local, I know the proposed contractor, I think it works out of Washington, North Carolina, and I think that it's great if that's what we can get in the long term, but I thought it'd be appropriate to at least ask for, another month or so to rebid, but I respectfully understand whatever your decision is, but that's my ask.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and I would,
It's taken us over a year.
this
to
is
get this
actually
work done.
a time-sensitive issue. All of us went on a tour of the animal shelter, and evidently, if the floors are not sealed, diseases and bacteria gets into the floors, and then when you get new animals coming in, they can actually get sick from the other animals that are in the actual kennels. So we're at a crisis point, but I really appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Thank you. Commissioners, manager brought to my attention that we need to vote on the item related to the furniture donation from the library, so that wasn't included. We need to just take action on that 0284, 19-0284 to accept the donation from the Library
I move that
Foundation.
we accept the donation from the Library Foundation.
Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Recca. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the donation is unanimously affected. If you would like to speak, okay. So staff, if you could someone could find out exactly what information to follow up with. Can someone? Okay. Okay. So,
Thank you. Now, I need to ask the question so the people who are taking care of everything. I want the chair of the Durham County Commissioners and the 4 other people who make decisions to give me some information so the public will understand the MWBE compliance review form and how long has it been being used and what is the date and who is responsible for updating that. Right now, it'll take us Black people 40 years to catch up when you're using that form that is outdated. All I'm trying to do is you put it on the agenda, Madam Chair, and get the information. I don't want it right now, but I want everybody, all 5 of you, including the town manager, the county manager, and the people who are sitting here in red shirts, black shirts, and I'm black and white tonight for a purpose. Thank you.
thank you. And Mr. Manager, I'm sure you took notes on that. Thank you. Okay. Our next item is 19-0237, public hearing on the fiscal year 2019-20 County Manager's recommended budget. We have 28 people signed up to speak, and I'm going to read off 2 names in a row, and we are going to have people have 2 minutes to speak. If you would please come up and please say your name and address. So first we have Mickey Tezai and then Ann Rebeck. And if you'll come to this microphone here, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mickey Tezai, 5214 Gray Road in Timberlake, North Carolina. First, I'd like to thank the commissioners, the county manager for being patient with me for the last couple of months while I bombarded you with my concerns about this EMS and EM merger. As you all know, I feel really strongly about it. Having led the department for over 30 years, I just can't quite let it go. So I appreciate the fact that you accepted and understood my concerns, and as a matter of fact, I think primary concern has been dealt with, that of the leadership issue. But that still leaves the issue of the merger itself. I think in dealing with and settling or solving the primary issue, it doesn't leave much of a justification to continue with the merger. Collaboration efforts, sharing services, sharing facilities, even sharing personnel can be easily handled by 2 separate departments. The current collaborative efforts underway by the interim director of EMS and his staff are well underway to repairing those damaged relationships that occurred as a result of the last administration. They're going well, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to repair those efforts, to repair those relationships and those collaborative efforts. It can continue as 2 separate departments just as easily it can, maybe more easily than in a merged situation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Ann Rebeck and then C.J. Broderick.
Thank you. Ann Rebeck, 2701 Old Sugar Road. I'm here to express my support for the full funding of the request for the Durham Public Schools. I am appreciative of the budgeted amount for DPS that was recommended by the county manager. That being said, if we don't receive the full amount, then DPS will again be in the position to make hard decisions like the ones we've been making for the past 8 years. As a taxpayer, I see the prosperity happening in Durham, so I don't know why we would shortchange our schools. I'm also curious about the county's commitment to future bonds. I'm sure we've all noticed more and more classroom trailers going up and schools that are in need of many repairs. There's so much renovation underway downtown, but very little in our schools. I, for one, would welcome a robust bond for our schools in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. C.J. Broderick and then Michelle Burton.
And CJ Broderick, 3715 Suffolk Street. Good evening, commissioners again, and staff and fellow citizens. My name is CJ Broderick, and I represent approximately 150 small, mostly Black-owned businesses. I'd like to discuss economic development with most of you tonight because I feel like it's one of the things that's sorely missed within how this county is growing. I believe it's actually one of the keys in transforming the city and county. And we've heard shared prosperity and inclusive economic development, and they remain buzzwords in the city and county. However, minority business groups that are heavily involved in economic development remain excluded from your planning process and your budget. So I took a look at both the city and county budget. I was really dismayed because I've been in talks with county commissioners and city people for the last 6 to 8 months, and I just expected some level of investment across the board. I didn't see anything there. I'm here to request that you show a commitment beyond collecting data, putting out surveys, and repeating cute buzzwords, and enter into economic development consulting agreements with small business groups and minority business groups like the one I represent, the Durham Business Professional Chain, and plenty others that already exist. You're currently spending $265,000 a year with the Durham Chamber to represent large corporations, like the one that we just gave $100 and some thousand to a few seconds ago. And the Durham Chamber and DDI were another $150,000 with downtown development organizations. My recommendation is that you immediately agree to spend $100,000 with a few small and minority business organizations, economic development organizations here, and do so now as opposed to just punting for a later date. I understand that more discussions are necessary, but I believe it's important to start now and not just continue to punt, as you know, because we're actually passing the budget tonight. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Michelle Burton and then Nicholas Graber Grace.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Burton. I live at 3009 Stone Fence Court here in Durham. I'm representing the Durham Association of Educators. As of July 1st, I will be the new president of DAE. First, I want to say thank you to the commissioners, to County Manager Davis for showing your support for Durham Public Schools with recommending $7 million in the budget. It really shows your commitment to public education here in our county, and we are really thank you for that. However, I'm here to request that the full amount that Dr. Mabenga and the Durham Public Schools requested of $8.25 million would be in the budget for the 2019-2020 school year. All the items that the DPS School Board and Dr. Mabenga requested align with the strategic plan. We're asking for more restorative justice coordinators at all the middle and high schools, so we're not suspending kids and we can keep kids in school. We're also asking that an increase in salary supplements for our certified staff. As you know, we are competing for teachers with Wake County, Chapel Hill, Carborough. It's a way to attract the best teachers to Durham County. We want to make that commitment. And we're also, in that budget, is asking for livable wages for our classified staff. As you know, that the North Carolina General Assembly increased the wage to $15 an hour for state employees, but they did not include school-based staff. So we want to make that happen, and it's also asking for APs at our large schools and also to extend the employment for our custodial staff. So again, we really request that the full amount is budgeted, and thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you all in my new role. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas and then Dabney Hopkins.
My name is Nicholas Graber Grace, 1809 Glendale Avenue here in Durham. I'm a member of the Durham Association of Educators and want to thank my new president-elect, Michelle Burton, for taking the position of DAE this evening and saying so well of what we all believe. I'm going to be speaking tonight as the Executive Director of the Community Alliance for Public Education and a representative of the Bull City Community School Partnership. And I'm mainly here to say thank you to this commission and the people of Durham for believing in and investing in the community school model and project this year. It has been a real pleasure and treat to work with each of you and with county staff over the past year. Specifically, I want to thank Keith Lane and in particular Josh Edwards in the budget office for their guidance and responsiveness to all of our many questions. And we have worked really hard this year at EK Poe and Southwest Elementary, at Club Boulevard Elementary and Lakewood to expand parent engagement, develop collaborative partnerships, and support the social and emotional learning needs of each student. This year at each of those schools, we completed deep community listening projects among staff, gathering deep input from parents and students as well. And we are currently in the process of developing strategic plans for each school, responding to that extensive feedback that we got from each of those constituencies. We are grateful that Durham Public Schools is continuing its support for this work by funding community school coordinators at Lakewood and Club. And we are also very grateful for the continued support from each of you in this body for the support for the coordinators at EK Poe and Southwest Elementary. We are entering a period of reflection and planning as summer begins, and we ready ourselves for the work ahead next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dabney, and then Jeannie Sato. Oh, Janine, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Dabney Hopkins. I live at 1700 Sprung Avenue. I'm speaking tonight as a member of Durham People's Alliance Education Team and as a member of Durham Association of Educators. And I also want to echo the request for fully funding the $8.2 million from Durham Public Schools. We don't ask for what we don't need. The state has not fully we have not returned to the full, that wasn't full funding either, but we haven't returned to the funding since where we were before the recession, and that has created a lot of problems. What we need is a well-respected staff of career professionals, and that's harder and harder to get and harder to find people willing to give their hearts and souls for both for the classified positions as well as the certified positions. And we need the increase in supplement to help attract people to the schools, as well as to fund a living wage for all employees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Janine, and then Carl Kenny.
Hi, thank you, commissioners, and everyone here who's in support of public education, my fellow parents. My name is Janine Sato. I live at 4125 Livingstone Place, Durham, North Carolina. I'm the parent of 2 Durham Public School children, one in Forest View Elementary and one in Githens Middle School. Love Durham Public Schools, but I'm here to make 2 requests tonight and 2 comments, and that is to fully fund the Durham Public Schools budget, which we know they need firsthand. And the second request is that the county commissioners work diligently with the Durham Public Schools to come to some collaborative compromise for a long-term plan for the growth of our schools and the maintenance of our schools. I think we all can see that Durham is thriving, and I feel that our schools are not. There is a compromise that can be had, I believe, on both sides, and I hope that everyone can come to the table. And this would include the full funding for new schools, school maintenance, a bond in 2020. And I'd also like to see you work with Durham Public Schools to require them to do a fair and transparent redistricting to rebalance our enrollment with our new demographics that we see. And that includes magnet school enrollment, which seems completely out of sync with our population. So ultimately, we are asking for the full budget. I think that's a first step in the right direction, but I think there's a lot more to be done. And I just think that our county can do better for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl Kenny, and then Adil Ortiz.
I'd like to begin by commending the board for the hard work that goes into approving a budget. This is tough work, and I commend you for your efforts. Any budget is a reflection of our values. It's the stuff we stand for, that believe in the most. In our community, we believe in diversity, we believe in inclusion, and we believe in fairness. And I just want to remind you of my comments last month where I talked about budget as a social justice issue. We are not a community functioning with low self-esteem. We are a community that elevates our employees. We celebrate them for their hard work in making Durham one of the best places to live in not only the state, but in America. That means we support a market value increase in pay that reflects not only what they've been paid in the past, but the market value, what they deserve to be paid. With that in mind, I want to support the recommendation of the county manager to make market value increases for those employees that are not getting paid enough. They're not able to survive on what they get paid. We have far too many people working in the county, many DSS social workers who work hard just to be able to make it through the day because of these horrific stories of people who suffer to make a living, only to have to go and take a job at Walmart so they can pay their own bills. We just challenge you to think about the people who've worked hard to make Durham a great place to live, and as we build a community that we celebrate because of those values that we hold to be dear. We are, again, our community of diversity, inclusion, and fairness, and that should reflect every person who lives, regardless of their color, of their skin, or their gender.
Thank you. Adil and Angie Steele.
Good evening. Nice to see all of you here. My name is Ideal Ortiz, and I live at 1808 Bell Street. Today, I don't just want to share what you should say no to. It's not enough for me to ask you to say no to increased funding for a jail or to a new public safety complex that's proposed in the CIP or to officers in our schools in this budget. These no's are harder to make when you don't know what you're saying yes to. So instead of these no's here, I'm asking you to support the following. Yes to living wages for all county workers. City of Durham and the neighboring counties have living wages, but not all Durham County workers, especially women, Black and brown women who are predominantly represented in social services and public health. And so this is a question, as Mr. Kenny said earlier, of racial and gender equity. Yes to community-led safety and wellness solutions. Yes to public health. Yes to education, as so many other speakers have mentioned. And yes to grant programs that provide tax relief for long-time and low-income homeowners to create more community stability. Yes to doubling the eviction diversion funds. I think I saw some of the folks here earlier, to $180,000 to help more renters from being evicted and keep families stable from the trauma of homelessness, which I know we are working ever so hard to eradicate in our county. So I'm saying yes to loving my beautiful county deeply, but that isn't going to be an easy ask. I'm willing to make it though. So say yes to these listed ideas and be our community's hero.
Okay, thank you. Angie and Thelma White.
Good evening. My name is Angie Steele, and I'm here to support the Durham County Sheriff's budget for the upcoming fiscal year. I live at 5702 Stardust Drive, Durham. In each county, a sheriff is elected by qualified voters at the same time as members of the General Assembly are elected. The sheriff and his or her employees occupy a unique space among law enforcement officers in North Carolina, since the sheriff is the only officer of local government required by the Constitution. In November 2018, and in 138 years, the founding of Durham County, Clarence F. Burkhead was elected as the first African-American sheriff of Durham County. Sheriff Burkhead entered office 6 months into the previous administration's fiscal year 2018-19 budget year. He has worked diligently with his staff to present a budget that protects property and life. He is requesting an increase in full-time employees in order to meet the needs of the community. Over the past years, it is noted that the following is true. Due to urgent competing demands, the patrol officers' ability to proactively engage in community-focused activity has significantly decreased. Officers travel anywhere from 250 to 300 miles per shift, depending on the call volume and crime trends. Driving while under the influence processing time has gone from 1.39 hours to 3.8 hours. And despite Durham County violent crime rates increasing during the same time period from last year to this, response times have not decreased. They range from 3.46 minutes to 7.16 minutes and are directly influenced by the patrol officers' availability. The current staffing levels only allow one major event to occur at one time. Thus, I am asking that you all support the budget request by the Durham County Sheriff for this fiscal year, 2019 to 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. We have next Thelma and then Dr. Natasha Green.
Good afternoon. My name is Thelma Glenn White. I live at 1015 Jerome Road, Durham, North Carolina. I'm also speaking in support of the sheriff. Sheriff Clarence Burkhead was elected on a campaign of transparency, engagement, and accountability. This will be possible when all the neighborhoods are safe for all the people in Durham, not just for people who live in wealthy neighborhoods. When all citizens feel free from gun violence. When the immigrant community feels welcome. When people in the detention centers are safe and treated humanely. And when the values are focused on them, so that the Durham County populations feel safe in their presence. The Durham County Commissioners must make this possible by recognizing that the Sheriff Department only has approximately 200 sworn officers, while the Police Department has 547. Despite the number of differences, the Sheriff Department has a jurisdiction through all Durham County, including the unincorporated area and the Research Triangle Park. As the area continues to grow with companies and residents, the Sheriff Department calls have increased by 178% without any increase in personnel. Here is a real-life Sheriff Department emergency call. On September the 6th, 2018, a mother called 911 because an intruder was breaking into her home. She was scared, hiding in a closet with a 1-year-old child. The sheriff officer located in a patrol area may take too long, so another officer was called. The second officer arrived at the home 9 minutes after the call, while the second officer arrived 15 minutes. Just imagine you're hiding in a closet. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Now ask yourself, would you want to be that mother hiding in that closet and the traffic person could be tied up in traffic, the deputy could be tied up in traffic? There are no other nearby emergencies. There are also nearby emergencies, and the officer may be sick or someone may be on a special assignment or taking a well-deserved vacation. We at the Committee on the Affairs of Black People don't want you to be that mother, that child, or any resident who has an emergency, but the response time is slow due to the lack of resources. Please support the sheriff's request for additional full-time employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Natasha Green and Anita Alston.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Natasha Green, and I live at 3519 Appling Way. We are Durham, a proud and progressive, true blue, mid-sized city in the heart of North Carolina. We are one of the fastest and most progressive growing cities in the United States. We add an estimated 26 people to our city every day, and we've elected reformers as our district attorney and sheriff. So there is no mistake on how Durham County citizens desire to see themselves, a great progressive southern city. With this in mind, we need to appropriately compensate Durham County workers in a manner that is equitable for all. To date, equality and equity are not easily seen. For example, the classification and compensation study showed that 53% of males working for public safety received a salary increase, while only 13% of the females received a salary increase. Moreover, 41% of the white public safety employees received a salary increase, while only 21% of non-white employees received an increase. It is also noted that departments that typically employ minority women, like the Department of Social Services and Public Health, do not receive equitable pay in comparison to other county employees. Here, I emphasize again that women and minorities receive significantly less salary increases and a lower base salary than their white male counterparts in Durham County. We, the Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People, believe that competitive and equitable pay is essential for employees' financial security, but most of all, it is essential for Durham County as a whole. Our county employees provide services to all of Durham County and especially to our most vulnerable populations. Therefore, we ask that the county commissioners vote to support the recommendations for salary pay changes as recommended by the compensation study. We all deserve equal and equitable pay and a living wage for all. Thank you. Dr. Natasha Green, Durham County. I am the PAC chair for Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People.
Thank you. Anita, and then Sarah D'Amato.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Benita Austin. I live at 1816 South Austin Avenue, Durham, North Carolina. I am a fairly new resident of Durham County, but I do support the sheriff in his efforts to get more help in Durham County. It's a shame when poor people get up in the morning and you hear on the news that you have a dead body at the end of your block. It's a shame when you can't drive and know someone is shooting at you and you're an innocent bystander. It's a shame when you can't come out of a store without getting into a drive-by shooting. It's a shame when you can't sit on your front porch or in your yard and get shot at. It's a shame when you can't live in your neighborhood in peace, but yet and still the commissioners do not want to give him the manpower that he needs to patrol your area. It's a shame, and I think the commissioner needs to make an effort, because the money and the funds are there, to give him what he needs to make an effort to patrol the people that help put you in those seats. I thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, and then Sherry Starks.
Good evening. My name is Sarah D'Amato. I work at 201 West Main Street, which is the legal aid of North Carolina's office. I'm a staff attorney with the Eviction Diversion Program, and I'm here tonight to ask y'all to increase the DSS funding for the eviction diversion rent assistance funds through the Department of Social Services. Currently, legal aid represents, at this point, we estimate only 5% of all defendants in eviction cases in Durham County. The majority of our referrals come through the Department of Social Services, usually either pre-filing, meaning somebody is seeking assistance because they're past due on their rent and they would like to catch up before their landlord files to evict them, or they come to us after they have been filed on and they are seeking assistance so that they can come up with the money that they owe so that they don't have a judgment entered against them. Or they come to us after there has been a judgment and they would like to appeal their case or to avoid a writ of possession. A writ of possession means that the sheriff comes and puts a padlock on your door, and most people only get about 10 days notice before the padlock is on their door. The funding that comes from DSS allows individuals to not only just avoid a judgment against them, but allows them to either stay in their place so that they can find another place. It also allows them extra time to come up with the money that they need in order to stay in their homes. This is crucial. Many of our clients come to us because they don't have the money to pay their rent because they are out of work. They're out of work for a various number of reasons. And so we are asking at this point, that money helps them stay in their home so that they don't have to deal with moving, in addition to finding a new job and finding their, a new school for their kids. So we are asking that you increase this funding and so that it is not limited. It's currently limited right now, and those limitations, we'll hear about that. A few of our clients are going to hear it and speak about that.
Thank you. Thank you. After Sherry is Lee Ann Shore.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sherry Starks, and I'm here as the success story of legal aid. I was not asked to be evicted from my apartment because of rent. It was because the community is changing, and economically, my landlord could get 3 times what I was paying in my home. I had been there 10 years. I want to say that I was not used to that position. I am definitely a giver, and I take care of people, and it was very difficult for me to be placed in that position. I want to say that without the help of legal aid and Durham County Social Services guiding me that path, because I went to court with my heart, but my lawyer came with his head. And that's why I'm standing here today, a success story that I did not have to move. And I just want to thank, again, Legal Aid and the Department of Social Services for the great work that they do. I also want to say I'm willing to put skin in the game and be that person that talks to that family even before it happens, to say, hey, we have this program and it's available and this is how it works and this is what you need to do. Because I think as gentrification and things happen, there are going to be more of us in this very position, not because we're not paying, but because we're not paying what they can get. I thank you so much for your time.
Leanne, and then Zach Roberson.
Hello, my name is Leanne Shore. My address is 4215 Delbert Avenue in Durham. First, I'd just like to say that the diversion program helped me last year. I actually did not get an eviction notice. My landlord, they actually helped me out and sent me a letter before I got an eviction notice. So I went down and they actually helped me. They paid for my rent and paid the late fees. And I'm a single mom, you know, and most people been like, look, we don't care, we're not gonna help you, get out, you know. So I thank God for that program, I really do, because as right now I'm still able to stay in my apartment and raise my daughter. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Zach Robertson. First of all, I'd like to thank Sarah and her legal aid staff. My story is your story. Each and every one of you. My story is yours here on this council, yours as social service, right? I'm the person that falls in the middle of the cracks. I worked all my life, paid taxes all my life, paid into Social Security disability. I've had 8 surgeries. I'm pending number 9, July 3rd. I'll be at Duke with another shoulder replacement. I am not able to work. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because most people don't know, when you file Social Security disability, and I'm 61 years old, you're only allowed to make a certain amount per day, and you can't make any other money. No other jobs will hire me. I worked in healthcare my whole life as a dementia trainer. When I got hurt, I'm not able to pass the physical, so I can no longer work. Legal Aid sets up this program along with social service to help people like me. I do have 2 children that I have joint custody of. 15 and 11 years old, 2 girls. Just because I don't have custodial custody, they don't consider me a father with 2 children, although my children are with me 3 days a week, all right? My current address will be my 2012 Ford Taurus in about 10 days because I will not have a place to stay. I've been to social service about 8 times in the past 2 years. I went to the Salvation Army asking for help. They told me they didn't have FEMA funds. My story is your story. I'm the nameless, faceless person that you never see driving Uber, that gets you home from shows, that gets you home from your jobs. I'm the person that's on the street at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, driving to make sure I get people that work home safely. And then when I go home, my home is going to be my car. July 3rd, when I have my surgery, July 5th, when I get discharged, I will be convalescing in my 2012 Ford Taurus because there are no funds for me.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Robertson, Gail, could you talk to him, please? We have Project Access that makes sure that people who are having surgery do not go home. You have Project Access? Gail, could you get his information? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Gail is our public health director. Okay, Gail Harris. I'm sorry, Anita Keith Faust and Christy Masanick. Is Anita Keith Faust still here? Okay. Christy Masanick and then Kimberly Elliott.
Good evening, Commissioners, General Manager, County Attorney, and neighbors. My name is Christy Masanick. I live at 4706 Cook Trail. I am here tonight as a longtime Durham resident, DPS graduate, DPS parent, Creekside and Githens, and DPS substitute teacher. Over the years, like many of you, I have watched our school system meet many challenges, including the merging of city and county schools. Today, we ask more of our public schools than ever before. With these demands, our county must recognize that financial needs increase. I know from experiences as a student, a parent, and an employee that our teachers and support staff are doing the best they can to work with the funds they have been given. With the challenges our students face today, the funding is not high enough. The school board has requested funding that I believe is absolutely necessary to the well-being of our students, teachers, and support staff. Please fully fund this request. If you would like to grant additional money, I would support that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Kimberly and then Brian Calloway.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Elliott. I live at 1007 Lubbock Lane in Durham, and I am here speaking on behalf of Durham Public Schools and the funding for that. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you that dedicate your time to hear us, and to those that are here to support whatever cause in the budget or in the proceedings tonight that you are here to support. It takes a lot of courage to do that. As someone else earlier spoke, I also agree that we should fully fund Durham Public Schools. My daughter has been in Durham Public Schools since kindergarten. I have a son that's finishing 2nd grade at Spring Valley Elementary School, and my daughter is finishing 7th grade at Neal Middle School. Neal Middle School has come such a long way in the last 3 years, so has Spring Valley as well. However, we are limited in space. Our area of Durham is growing drastically and very quickly. If you drive down Sharon Road, there is housing neighborhood after housing neighborhood after housing neighborhood. It is to the point that I am concerned slightly with or actually greatly with the way the funding is allocated, from trying to minimize class sizes on K through 2. I think there's some unintended consequences that are going to come from that. I'm sure there's teachers here that can also speak to that. I see it in the high school level, I see it in the middle school level, and I also see it in the elementary school level. You're limiting the space, the capacity that we can hold, so you're taking away music classrooms. You potentially could take away media centers, and these children may or may not have access to books any other time. So I know for me, I grew up in Stokes County, in a very small rural county, and music was a big part of my education. Band was a huge part of my education, and it was funded through public education. There's also concerns about...
Can I just ask you to wrap up your comments, please?
Sure. The last thing is that I would also encourage us to look at how much we're putting towards charter schools versus the public schools, because I do think that that is putting a lot of financial pressure, and it's socioeconomically dividing our schools. So, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Brian, and then Dr. Michelle Laws.
Good evening, Board. My name is Brian Calloway of 307 Gresham Avenue, and I'm a details person, and I'm quite a bit appalled by some of the details within that DPS budget. If you investigate further, this budget does not include a $15 guarantee for full-time workers, even though city and county and even state workers receive that figure. It does not include any wage guarantee for part-time workers. We just saw that discussion play out at the city recently. And it's worth mentioning that that's how the custodial contractor that was ousted in the last couple of years, they kind of got around a lot of things by paying their part-time workers less. Sounded great on paper, but in reality, most people are hurt with lower wages there. And this does not include raises for about 50% of the non-certified classified workers within the district. And the HR department at DPS stated that 50% of those classified workers are overpaid, is what they actually stated on April 11th board meeting. What this budget does include in those details are raises for executives up to $19,000 a year. The individual who presented that recommendation is himself looking at about a $15,000 a year raise. So this community is under a lot of strain. The school district is as well, but people are leaving this community. We know that. We do not want this place to be like Chapel Hill or Seattle and drive away people that cannot afford to live here. So as keepers of the public purse, we do realize that you can still support public education and scrutinize budget details, and this budget deserves quite a bit of scrutiny. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Laws, and then Dove Rosenberg.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the Commission. In 1967, President Johnson commissioned the Kerner Commission to examine the causes of the riots that were taking place in Detroit and in Newark. The Commission concluded after careful examination that our society was heading towards two societies, or our nation was heading towards two societies, one black and one white, separate and unequal. They cautioned that if we were not careful, that we would see apartheid began to take root in America. I dare say that 51 years later, if we study and we look at the compelling evidence that exists right here in the city of Durham and the county also, some of which has been stated tonight, that we too have to say that we are heading towards two separate counties, two different counties, one separate and unequal, largely whites who are benefiting tremendously and doing exceedingly well, and then people of color and workers who are not. I came here tonight to simply say and to join in the voice of my clergy colleague that a budget really is a reflection and a mirror into the souls and the hearts of those who are the architects behind it. Things don't just happen. Gentrification doesn't just happen. Things happen, and gentrification and benign neglect of our schools, benign neglect of our jails, not placing money in the areas where we need it the most. Our jails have become our default mental health facilities. Those things happen under careful watch of you. You are the ones that are making the decisions along with the manager about where funding goes. So I simply say, and I hope and I pray that you will make the right decisions and that you will make sure that funding is distributed equitably, that workers are paid equitable and fair wages, and that our children are tended to. It's in your hands, essentially.
Thank you, Dove, and then Mike Ellis.
Good evening. My name is Dove Rosenberg. I live at 4406 Sun Valley Drive. I'm here as a member of the People's Alliance, as a member of the Durham Association of Educators, and as a teacher with Durham Public Schools for the past 14 years. I came here thinking that I was going to advocate for the Durham Public Schools budget because I was concerned that my position would be cut. But this morning I learned that my position has been cut, and I am no longer going to be working at Rogers Her Middle School after 14 years. Now, Durham Public Schools has to find me a job somewhere, but it's a real loss for the students and teachers at Rogers Her Middle School. And I do want to bring the board's attention to the fact that media coordinators are leaving schools and not being replaced here in Durham, and that the job of technology facilitator has been placed upon media coordinators who have found it to be onerous and leaving when really it should be two people. So I am asking the board tonight to not necessarily I was going to ask you to approve DPS's budget request, but now I'm going to ask you to request that DPS submit a budget that does not require laying off anyone in the school system if they're going to be asking for more money. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dove. And I will say I'm sorry to hear that. And you were at Rogers Her when I was a Rogers Her parent, so I'm sorry to hear that. Mike Ellis and Serena Sebring.
Hello. My name's Mike Ellis, and my address is 219 Trescott Drive, Timberlake. I work for the Durham Public Schools Maintenance Department. And I've sat up here and heard all these stories about the budget. And we've been promised a raise for the last 3 or 4 years, and I think 1% is all we've had. And it's about time they woke up and smelled the coffee. I'm one of only 4 plumbers that we got for the whole district. So take that in consideration, how busy we stay every day on a daily basis to cover 53 buildings. I don't think anybody else here realizes what we do on a daily basis to keep the schools going. And that's all I got to say about that. And
thank you. Thank you. Serena and then Keisha Mallett.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to speak some more about the budget and our concerns about pretrial incarceration in Durham. I live at 317 East Trinity Avenue. I've been a Durham resident for 15 years. I'm raising 3 children here, 2 of whom have graduated from Durham County schools, and 1 more still at DSA. So I come with a lot of investment in these decisions tonight, as many of us do. And specifically, I come on behalf of a coalition, a group of us here in Durham who are thinking about what does a new vision of public safety look like, and what do we want, what do our values represent in terms of how public safety is funded, is carried out, and who are we accountable to. And we have some clear yeses and nos about this budget. Many of which have been lifted up already. We want to say yes to community-led safety and wellness solutions. We think this is so important. As a representative of Southerners on New Ground who has bailed out over 35 women here in Durham over the last 3 years of doing Black Mamas bailouts, we know that these are vitally important solutions, that we need to create new alternatives and not punish people for being poor. We say no more ransom on our people's heads. We also say yes, absolutely, to living wages for all county workers, yes to public health, yes to education, and yes to the Longtime Homeowners Grant Program. And we have some clear no's. We say no more new funding for the jail. No more. This is not in line with the vision of public safety or the values of Durham as we understand it. We know that there are safety concerns that continue to create this detention center being a risk rather than a benefit to public safety in Durham. We also say no to the proposed new public safety complex in the capital improvement plan, and we ask that police officers are removed from our children's schools. Finally, there's just a couple of other things that, some of which we had a chance to discuss yesterday. One was the ask for 10 new sheriff's vehicles put forward in the sheriff's budget. We know that these vehicles are replaced over time and that the revenue is then put back into the budget, but we also know that transportation to court is a major need for the people that we have bailed out of jail. And we ask for a creative solution about how these vehicles might be repurposed rather than just sold to support the budget of the sheriff. And then finally, transparency. We have requested a regular public report of the jail composition from Sheriff Burkhead and had further opportunity to discuss that with county commissioners and District Attorney DeBerry. We think that as people of Durham, we have a right to know how many people at a cost of $90 per day per person in that detention center are there because they cannot afford to pay bail. We want to know how many people are there because of probation and parole, and we want to know how many people are there because they are unable to pay their child support. We see these as vital issues of morality around public safety and also of interest to the people of Durham, and ask that those things would be provided for in the budget that is approved by the commissioners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Keisha and then E.L. Allison.
Good evening, Commissioners, County Manager, and all who love and serve Durham. My name is Keisha Millette. I'm here as a member of Southerners of New Ground and also as a part of the coalition that Serena mentioned that is supporting safety and wellness in our community. I'm also here to tell you a little bit about why I love Durham. I love that Durham is a city and a county with hard lessons learned that attempts to right its wrongs. But our county still has a long road ahead. So for now, we'll just call Durham a county with a lot of potential. This includes the potential to avoid the safety threat of having more SROs in schools and the danger of a new public safety complex or additional jail funding. They are not protecting and serving our communities. It would truly be a shame to make the mistake of assuming they do. I believe you, as our county commissioners, can and will say no to these Band-Aid solutions that don't address community needs. I also believe you, as county commissioners, also love Durham and will work hard to create opportunities for our community. Opportunities to say yes to funding community-led safety and wellness solutions because we are the ones who keep us safe. You also have the opportunity to say yes to funding public health and public schools, yes to funding the Longtime Homeowners Grant Program, and yes to doubling eviction diversion funds. I say yes to the county taking these steps to make Durham a place we can all love and call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, after Dr. Allison is Natalie Murdoch.
Yes, I'm here as the founder and president of North Carolina Leadership Conference, Inc. You know me also for my leadership in other organizations here, but I'm here tonight to share with you some facts. First of all, basically in 2015, Durham County had 297,278 people. In 2020, we are supposed to go to 320,933. All 5 of you up there are Democrats. Right now, total, I want everybody to understand, the registration in Durham County right now is 217,749 people. Of that number, I hope the people are listening, 71,889 are black folk. You all make the decision. I want you to understand, they're all running, they're all Democrats. We're getting ready for 2020. My understanding is that the county manager had a budget, and you all came back and knocked something out. I have a report that Dr. Green has already reported about, but I want to emphasize what this report says. Number one, basically, I'm so pleased that the sheriff did get 381 from that study from 17 to 18. There are 550 people that will get 1,411,449. They still need some more, but it's more than that. The other thing I want you all to understand, in terms of what they already gave, 104 females are not going to get any increase in the salary increase. Males actually got 398, but there are 351 of males who didn't get anything. I want you all to disaggregate the data. Black folks standing out here, everything we got to get is black, white, color. I want to know what black folk are getting. At this point, the 5 of you, 2020, they're going to be all up and running. Listen, I got the facts. We got to go. We got the facts. Check it out. 4 of them need to go. 4 of them need to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm disappointed in Alice. She participated with the other 4.
We have Natalie Murdoch, and last we have Andrea Muffin Hudson.
Okay. Good evening, County Commissioners, staff, and members of the public. My name is Natalie Murdoch, and I'm a resident of Durham. I stand in support of the proposed merger of the Durham County Access Demand Response Service with the City of Durham's Go Durham Access Paratransit Service. This is a critical and essential service that provides seniors and disabled residents with the mobility that they need to continue to live independent lives. Having served on the Durham County Transportation Advisory Board for 2 terms, a soil and water elected official, as well as a transportation planner for 8 years, I truly recognize the importance of public transportation for our most vulnerable residents, as well as the value of coordination and economic efficiency. With the county and city already utilizing a coordinated model for providing demand response transportation services, I believe as a need to address new technology and to meet the growing demands for our seniors and our transportation providers to get to work, riders will require a strong public transportation network to get throughout the region. For our Durham County residents, with maintenance of funding and sustaining of a grant for local resources of $569,000 and $569.59 and 21,887 trips. There will not be any disruption in this service and an opportunity to grow under a co-branded entity. The goals of the merger are to increase mobility between existing transit systems within one county, between counties, improve transportation planning and coordination to better meet public demand, to maximize our resources, including funding, as well as developing centralized staff that will create operational and administrative efficiencies. It's for that reason I say yes to this merger and the continued support of Durham County and the city in the delivery of transportation services to meet the needs of our Durham County elderly and disabled residents.
Thank you. And last but not least, Andrea Muffin Hudson. Muffin still here?
Hello, I'm Andrea Hudson. Everybody calls me Muffin. I'm here on behalf of all of us and none. Durham Beyond Police.
And Muffin, do you mind just stating your address, please?
Oh, 322 Junction Road.
Thank you.
Apartment 27. I'm not going to say the letter, but it's on that paper.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I represent the Coalition for Durham Beyond Policing. And I'm here today because we need to invest more in our communities, in our children, as opposed to investing in public safety, because police don't keep us safe. We can keep each other safe. If we had livable wages, real affordable housing, and we can keep ourselves safe, we can do what we need to do. People don't wake up and say, I'm gonna commit a crime today. They wake up and say, I need to take care of my family today. I need to take care of myself. If they had a livable wage, they wouldn't commit crime because that's what ends up happening, and that's why we have crime, because we don't have the things that we need. And if we say that we're this progressive city and that we really want everyone to be on a level playing field, then we need to make sure our schools have what they need. I went to a meeting tonight, that's why I was late here. You have a school who has to fundraise because they only get $14,000 a year to do a whole athletic department, which is basketball, football, soccer, tennis, swimming. $14,000 for all of those programs. And guess what happened? Those are the kids that fall through the cracks. Because I see these schools here today, but I don't see any black schools represented here. I don't see any schools where my kids go. I don't see them here. I see E.K. Poe and I see Southwest. But what about the ones that are in the city? What about Neal? What about Hillside? What about those schools that have those kids that are the ones that will be in the jail, the ones that bodies are over-policed on a regular basis? Those are the bodies that we need to look after and we need to take care of. Not saying that the other schools don't need what they need, but we need to make sure all the schools have what they need, not just ones in particular neighborhoods. Because when people want more police, the police ain't gonna be in your neighborhood, they're gonna be in mine. I've got video where I see 6 police cars riding through Benwood all day, every day. So if we need more police, then why are these 6 here sitting? They need to go do some work.
Thank you. And I just want to thank everybody who is here tonight, whether you spoke or not. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate all of you. We appreciate how much everybody cares so much about our community. And I just want to say we're listening carefully to everything that everybody has to say. I just want to let you know this is very tough. We actually only had, when we looked at new funding this year, only $9.2 million worth of new revenue, and we have 27 county departments and Durham Public Schools. And when everybody put in their requests, and I just want to say there is not everybody puts in what they need. You know, all of our staff puts in what they feel that they need for the people in our community. And so when everybody put in their numbers, the county manager can tell you it was $40 million with only $9.2 million worth of new money. Of course, in order to do more, we're going to have to raise taxes. So that becomes another issue. We know that raising taxes is not very equitable, because for people who are on fixed income, seniors, low-income residents, it has a negative impact. So that has to be balanced. But we want to tell you that, first of all, we have put education first. So knowing that we only started out with $9.2 million and the manager recommended $7 million out of the $8.2 million of the school request is really huge. I just wanted to create that context. And I just want to say that we are taking care of Durham Public School children's families. So when we talk about how we need money for eviction diversion, or we need money for public health or things like that, we're talking about impacts to our children in Durham Public Schools. It's all connected. Everything is connected. So we have to make strategic investments. It's really hard to make these decisions and these choices. Things that are not in our budget are things like 394 seniors who are waiting on a list for Meals on Wheels. Those are the kinds of things that are not currently funded in our budget. So it's very difficult. I would say I do hope that people will take a look and really read our budget, because I think all of us feel really proud of our staff and in Durham County government, because it is a moral document. Our board is so proud of the work that our public health department is doing, our social services, criminal justice resource center, cooperative extension, our library. They are all programs that are focused on enriching the lives of people in our community. And one of the strategic investments that we are making is in early childhood education, because we know that the most important thing is investing in our children. And we understand that that's a way we can help support Durham Public Schools, so that when a kindergartner shows up for school each day, the first day of school, they can be ready to learn. So that is really important to us. I also want to say in the recommended budget is some new positions like a racial equity officer to help us make the changes we need to make, and also a position for adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, and an early childhood coordinator. So these are some of the things that are in the budget. Again, thank you so much. We really appreciate everybody who is here tonight. And we have some tough decisions ahead of us. Thank you so much. And I don't know if any other board members have anything else to add.
I would just like to thank you as well for being here. It's just great to see the community here. You know, we don't have this kind of audience very often. So I am just tickled. I can't say pink because I don't turn pink, but I am very pleased to see the community turn out, because it says to us here that this is important to you. It's important, the decisions that we make. It's important that how we allocate your tax dollars. So it does my heart good to see you here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Let's see. I think we have one item left, which is the public hearing on the merger of we have a public hearing for the Durham County Access merger with the City of Durham.
you hear from John again? Did you hear from John again? What? What did you tell him you wanted? You must have told him what you wanted.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to continue with our public hearing. And we know people don't have to stay if they don't want to. We understand. Do not feel obligated to stay for the rest of the items. Okay, could somebody, do you mind closing that door? Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we have Linda Thomas here from Transportation. Thank you, Linda Wallace-Thomas.
Thank you. We've already had Natalie Murdoch speak on behalf of the merger, but I will just, for the record, describe what the purpose of today's public hearing was for. Since 1998, Durham County Access and the City of Durham, as designated through an interlocal agreement, have provided demand response transportation in a coordinated model to Durham County residents that are elderly, disabled, and transportation disadvantaged, with trips to non-emergency medical destinations, work, training, and essential needs destinations. The major goals of the merger are to realize cost savings and more efficient operations while continuing to enhance safety, time efficiencies, and quality of customer service. Under the agreement, the county conveys the authority to the city to do specific administrative functions, including reporting, financial, and grant management that's currently done under Durham County Access. We've been working together with the city for many years to refine some of the processes, and I think that as we move forward with this agreement, you'll see even greater success. The interlocal agreement maintains the current level of our fiscal year 18-19 funding, which means for the residents and for people that are in need of mobility, there'll be no change in the services that they receive. The total amount of the budget for trips is maintained through the grants that we currently receive, and we also have an allocation that's pending for additional vehicles to improve the fleet management. That is all handled through currently the city and through a contract that they have with First Transit. The county and city staff came to this conclusion after a year of discussions where they provided recommendations to include this step towards the merger. The merger also is supported by the state North Carolina Department of Transportation. They have supported regionalization and these types of coordinations, which we already were in that model, and they stand supportive. Again, we had Natalie Murdoch, who is a member of our Transportation Advisory Board, which is an arm that is appointed by the county and will continue in the merger aspect, and there'll be additional city appointees during that time. So the purpose of today's public hearing was just to hear and have an opportunity for people to voice their support or questions that we could answer in regard to this. It is anticipated that this merger will take place in the first quarter of the new fiscal year. I can answer any questions if anybody has.
Thank you. And thank you, Linda. Yes, Natalie did a great job commenting on this, and we know that this is being proposed for the best interests of our residents. I do have a question, though. I love when you always did the award ceremonies for our transportation, heroes. And is that something that will continue? Do you know?
It's not a formal part of the agreement, but it's something that we can work.
Sorry, wait 1 second. I can't hear you.
Transportation. while it's not part of the interlocal agreement, I think it's something that we can discuss with the city to continue that type of recognition. I think it elevates the programs that we provide, and I will share that with them.
Okay, could you really do that? Because I just really love the way it celebrates the people who are using the service and highlights the impact that it has on people's lives. I remember at this year's, there was a woman who has mobility issues. She uses Durham County Access to go to the library. She's in a book club. She's in a writers group. She goes to the senior center. I mean, if she didn't have that, it would really impact her quality of life. And then we've had other people who are disabled who use it to get to work. So I just think it's really important to recognize those people. So.
Right, and I thank
Yes.
the commissioners for their support of that program and participating in it. It does make a tremendous difference. We also try to recognize somebody that's young that utilizes the system for non-school purposes for work, like you said.
Right.
Otherwise wouldn't be able to get to their job.
Right, and you always did a great job with that, Linda. We really appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from anybody? So I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Seeing there are no one here, I will now close the public hearing. And Mr. Manager, do we take action at this time, or? I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, so we are taking action on approving the merger. Moved by Commissioner Recca, seconded by Commissioner Carter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the merger is unanimously approved. Okay, jumping ahead, we have a discussion of federal poverty guidelines for a rule proposal, and we have Ben Rose, our DSS director, here to talk on this time-sensitive issue.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Jacobs, and good evening. I included in the packet a couple of bits of information for you with some links as well. Basically, in summary, what we have is the Office of Management and Budget is proposing a federal rule change that would impact how the federal poverty guidelines are calculated. And basically, what they are recommending is they shift from using the Consumer Price Index to the Chained Consumer Price Index, which, of course, what that does is that takes into account biases and substitutions in how things are purchased, so therefore you tend to lower the inflation rate. The projection is that this change in formula, and it's a very complicated formula way above my bald head at this point, but it's basically projected to lower the federal poverty rate initially, probably a very small amount, but then what they are thinking is every year that threshold will actually continue to go down. Now, this has, depending on how you view it, and it has a lot of ways to look at it. The biggest concern that we have as a DSS would be that there's really two big concerns. One is that obviously we would be probably having millions of people across this country that would not be qualified for certain federal programs that we have, such as SNAP, such as Medicaid, such as CHIP. We have the ACA shared subsidy program for people that are working and go onto the market to get their health care through the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. They get additional subsidies to help them based on their income. That could be reduced, or they could lose that as well too. And really, I think you would see a lot of working families and seniors impacted by this, quite frankly. So I think we could see quite a few people lose potential benefits. Another impact that's really not really thought about too much is that these federal poverty guidelines are used in how they do the formulas for block grant funding. So such as community developmental block grants, social services block grant, home and care community block grants. They are part of that, their formulas are part of the federal poverty rate. So we could actually potentially as a state, see lower funds coming in our grants as well. And as you know, we don't get a lot in social services as it is with that. I would also put out there the argument that, quite frankly, the federal poverty guidelines as they are written right now are not even near what it is about for living in poverty, because as you are very well aware, living wages is not reflected in the federal poverty guidelines. So there's that concern as well too. This is a rule change, so it does not require congressional approval. I really do believe this was kind of a backup plan when the Farm Bill did not pass, quite frankly. So, and it kind of really snuck under the radar. It really was put out there very quietly and just has been discovered in the last couple of weeks. So now there is starting to be a big push and momentum, and there's even some media coverage about it as well too. But it is a very big change, and they are receiving public comment up till June 21st on this rule. Basically, that's all they have to do. So we are looking, our DSS board has looked to vote to make positions that the DSS board members are going to provide comment. I have already provided comment myself, and I learned today that state DHHS is crafting a comment as well to opposing the change in the formula. If you read the Federal Register very closely, they actually are wanting you to comment not on the impacts of the change itself, but they really want you to comment on the formula, the methodology. So I believe they're already basically saying, we understand the impact's not going to be positive. So they're trying to limit that, but that didn't stop me. I commented on the impact. So again, it's a position that I think Commissioner Jacobs at our DSS board meeting wanted you to be aware of, so that perhaps if you wanted to make public comment or make a comment to the site, I did include that information in the packet. You would be welcome to do that.
Thank you so much, Ben. And I just want to recognize the chair of our DSS board who's here, Tara Fikes. And
see her back there.
Yeah. But this is really a time-sensitive issue. I'm glad that the press is here, because I hope that you will help us inform people about this. A lot of people are not aware that this is happening, and it really could have very dire consequences, not just for people in Durham, but our whole state and our whole country. Commissioner Recco?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I'd like to thank you for putting this on the agenda. Can you hear me now? Okay.
What's going on with the mic?
So I'd like to suggest that we ask our county manager to write a letter to the Office of Management and Budget during this comment period, and state that we feel the consumer price index should be continued to be used. And we also send copies of the letter to our congressional delegation. Not that, they don't have any authority, but still in all, I think it's important for them to know that we are concerned about any effort to reduce keeping up with the CPI.
And I would just like to add that the letter that you write, Mr. Manager, it would be good to actually share that with Kevin Leonard of NCACC, because this really, as the point that you're making, is really a statewide issue, could affect the entire state. And what the thing is that we're supposed to submit it through a portal, the comments, so we want to make sure that it actually gets submitted to the official comments mechanism, right?
And faxing is an option, so you can do a letter. And
Oh, you can?
There is
Okay.
a fax option that is cited in the Federal Register, so I can
Okay.
work with the.
Okay, so if
county
you
manager.
could work with the manager on that?
So,
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Howerton?
Ben, could you say a little bit more about the difference of the poverty index, the difference for where it is now versus where it's headed?
So with the changed consumer price index, the projection is it's probably going to be lowered in the first year, anywhere from 1% to 2%. and then would continue to be lowered over the next 10 years, depending on, again, how the chain consumer price index reads out, because that does factor in how people substitute, how they purchase, so it creates more deflation than inflation. So the projection is that figure will continue to lower that rate. I don't know if I would say substantially, but percentage-wise, you could be looking at anywhere from 5 to 10% reduction in the poverty rate from where it's at already, which is low.
So for the public, can you give the public some numbers so that it's not like that something that we're saying, so that they have some context for what is being said?
So in other words, what is an example of a...
Yeah, give them,
And I should have brought this, so I apologize. I don't have the chart in front of me. I didn't even think about that. Should have figured that. But I would roughly estimate right now, and I can verify these numbers, and I can definitely send you the official chart. But say for a family of 3 right now, I believe the federal poverty guidelines read around $11,500 a year in income, which is...
Right. So in other words, they're
Not a
going...
lot.
That's pretty bad.
Right. So
It could be a little higher, but I will definitely send you the chart. But it is not anywhere near what I would call a living wage. Basically, it is to provide, even with assistance and subsidies. And another thing too, I think that's important to remember, a lot of households that are receiving our services, they're working. There's income. They still qualify. 60% of SNAP benefits recipients have income. 30% are seniors. The rest are not working. So this thought that, no one's working receiving social services is just the furthest thing from the truth. Most of our recipients have some kind of income, but they might be making minimum wage and working 30 hours a week. So they are very much qualifying for the program still. So you really are looking at taking people that are working hard, and they use these programs to help them survive. They're the ones that the upper ends are going to be potentially impacted by this rule change.
Yeah, thank you.
But what's really nefarious about it is changing the definition of poverty so that you basically just say people are not poor anymore when they are poor. So it's really heinous, and we're just trying to really raise attention to it because people don't seem to be aware that this is happening right now.
So Gail helped me, and I do apologize. I was quoting a family of 1. But so this gives you the current, right? So for a household of 1, it's $12,490. I was thinking 1. Household of 3, but think of 3, it's $21,330. And that seems a little high, but I was making sure that was not a percentage of it. But even at that level, for a family of 3, so that could be a father and a mother and a child, or a mom and 2 kids.
So if they're making above that, then they're not
considered in poverty.
Considered.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And what's $15 an hour is?
That's the current level, and the rules would actually change it.
I know.
And it would be coming down from that.
Right. Well, thank you, Ben. So you'll work with the manager on that,
Yes, I'll be
and
happy.
we want to get that to NCACC and also submit it before the deadline as well.
Definitely.
Okay.
I will be happy to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, seeing we have no pulled items, the board is requested to adjourn to closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 Also, the board will discuss the following: Marquita Welton versus Durham County Board of Commissioners, Wendell Davis and Kathy Everett Perry, case number 17-CV-258. Julia Graves versus Durham County, Clarence Burkhead, Michael Andrews, Michelle Henderson, FNU Jackson, FNU Taylor, Tanisha Stripling, and Travelers Casualty and Surety Company, case number 1:19-CV-316. Durham County versus Amerisource Bergen Drug Corporation et al., case number 1:19-CV-00491.
I move we go into closed session for the reasons stated.
Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Hill. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we're unanimously adjourned to closed session.
Good idea. That was really good thinking. I didn't think much.
Well, we're going into closed session.
Just trying to figure out what do I need to take home? Nothing.
Okay, we have adjourned from closed session and given direction to staff. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Reckow. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're unanimously adjourned. See you all in the morning. Thank you. Let me give this to Monica.